All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to my third episode of the podcast. I'm here with Sophia.
Hi, I'm Sophia, Sam's floor mate from
Yeah.
last year.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more about like your major, gear, and all that?
Yeah, I'm a second year as well, and I'm majoring in society and environment for the College of Natural Resources. And basically, what that is taking environmental issues and applying them with social studies and social sciences, and how they connect with humans and societal issues.
Awesome. So my first question to you is, how did you sort of develop an interest in that?
So my interest in environmental issues and kind of like the umbrella of social justice started primarily in middle school. So I've been at this for like close to a decade of work. Um, and from there, like in middle school, I was a part of this club and I was kind of like the setting stone for everything else. Um, and within it, I was participating in a bunch of like local youth organizations. Like I attended the 2019 climate strike in SF, which is considered to be like the United States like largest student-led strike of all time, I believe. So some pretty big and grand things happened when I was younger. Um, and then in high school, I continued a lot of the work I was doing, but I was able to gain a little more independence, so I was able to apply myself to participate more actively in a lot of the roles I was taking. Um, yeah, and
Awesome.
then
And so, kind of diving into a little bit more about that climate strike that you're talking about in SF, like what did that entail? What did you have to do, and like where was it held?
like I don't remember exactly like the route that was taken,
Uh-huh.
but some of the stops we did have was PG&E and the ICE attention, like the ICE office, and those two were really big because at that time there was a lot of ICE raids going around, which still are happening pretty predominantly now. And in the 2019 Amazon rainforest fires and all the fires that were happening around California, which were like a lot of the fires that we have are mainly due to negligence from companies like electrical companies like PG&E, but and then the Amazon forest fires that were happening, which was another stop on our list, was BlackRock Inc. So this investment banking company, as they were like known to be founder, like funding a lot of the destruction of the forest.
And so now, like, how do you think that from that time, do you think this country has moved toward a more progressive, like, attitude toward climate change?
I think I think I would like to say yes, at least in the general sense of people being more conscious of like fast fashion and overconsumption, but there's ways that people find themselves being continuously wanting to be overconsume and kind of take a cheap route with like the usage of AI and all of that. So I think while there has been many steps to be taken that have been taken in becoming more sustainable within that realm, there's also been a lot of inadvertent pushback from big corporations.
Mm. And so, what do you think, like, did that? What do you think that you did in high school, in the forms of habits and all that, that you think helped you when you came to college?
I think one of the biggest habits I had gained was definitely like being able to self advocate. I was already doing a lot of advocacy,
Mm-hmm.
but never much on my own, like for myself. So high school really pushed me to be more self advocating, especially in my academics. There's like I struggle a lot with. I was struggling a lot with chemistry, so I'd often ask my teacher for more help, for more time to like understand the concepts that he was teaching us, and that really helped in kind of giving myself the leverage to do good in class.
And so you think being able to advocate for yourself is important, especially in a big like university like Berkeley?
Definitely. There's Berkeley gives you a lot of independence. So you don't really know who you can rely on except yourself. And because of that, you do have to push for your own advocacy when you're struggling and where you need help. So always trying to take advantage of like the student writing center or office hours or even just like communicating to your professors about topics are all forms of like good self advocacy to know that like if you're struggling it's okay and that there's outlets for you to take.
Mm. And so, in your time in college, how have you continued to pursue your passions, or do you have any future aspirations into pursuing local advocacy?
Yeah, one of the main things I do want to do is kind of get back into a lot of the trying to give back to a lot of the organizations I was a part of, because the ones I was in were very youth centered, and as I'm no longer considered the youth for them, um, maybe being some type of volunteer or mentor within those communities would be pretty beneficial, I think, to helping out with my passions of like setting foundations for a fellow like for the new generations of advocates to be able to pursue.
Awesome. And so, do you think it's a struggle juggling classes, extracurriculars, and pursuing your passion?
I think at times it can be. It just really depends, like, on the time of like wherever we're at in the semester and all that. But I think it's not too hard, especially because they relate back to my like my passions relate back to my major.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always able to connect one to the other in some way. So even if it's not like I'm actively participating in a lot of these like organizations or like um, advocacy work, I'm still like in a way participating by staying up to date or trying to become more informed, because that itself is like another form.
Mm-hmm. And sort of pivoting topics, how were you able to find community in like again such a big university? Because I've talked to people that say like during their first year they felt sort of like alone and found it difficult to find like a stable community to be a part of. So how did you go about doing that?
I think one of the things that like I really appreciate is that a lot of my like my community that I have now ended up being people I knew in high school. So a good like my really close friends, um, a few of them did come to Berkeley as well, so I'm able to see them often. But just kind of putting myself in a position where I can meet others is kind of what got me to meet people and to build a community. So like last year, like within the dorm, like we had the open door policy where we could allow like if our door was open, anyone could come in and chat in. So that's kind of what helped out too, like just being able to form the community and like the place we lived in.
Do you think it's been a struggle sort of finding kind of like identity based, like cultural based community within the university?
I think at times it definitely is difficult, especially if you're trying to find intersectionality within uh, your self identity and then your interest. Because there's not like many other Latinos within my major and all that. It's a predominantly white space, like very white. Like historically, it's always been affluent. But like so finding others like myself has been a bit of a difficulty, but those that I do find, I do try to tend to stick with. So it's not been too hard, but it's definitely feels a little off at times.
Mm. And so, like, being in college, how do you think like your identity sort of has changed, or the way that you've molded yourself from arriving to now, like being here, like a year in and starting your second year?
Um, I think one thing I've definitely had to like shift within myself has been realizing that a lot of what I'm learning um, isn't really in the same like perspective of the ones that I have. So while when I consider like environmental work to be um, very community based, very for the people, like advocating for the needs of the marginalized, um, like a lot of environmental work has never truly had a focus on marginalized communities or people in general, and has largely been about wildlife and keeping biodiversity alive. But there's been a like a constant need to remind myself like the perspective I have isn't the one everyone else does.
Mm. And so going into more like looking ahead, what kind of career aspirations do you have in the future?
I think I do want to center still within like initially I was thinking policy work within maybe like a governmental realm, with like the current state of what's happening, it seems quite impossible as there's been a bunch of like budget cuts in the government for uh, like the EPA and all this. So maybe pivoting more toward like private work, um, consulting probably or stuff like that. I'm still like it's still up in the airs because there's so many things to do, but it's definitely been like a recurring thought of what to do.
Mm. And so for people that don't know, like what is the EPA?
So the EPA is it stands for like it's the U.S.'s environmental um, protection agency, and it's basically kind of what sets a lot of our environmental regulations and agencies, and gives voice to a lot of what we have, and sets the standards. So it's definitely pretty important for a lot of our like daily lives, but it's not like I don't know. It's not seen as too big or too of an importance to many. I feel like yeah. It's well. I mean, as a government agency, it's not always like working for the people at times.
Mm. And so being at Berkeley, how has it been like building your network professionally and sort of opening up these new avenues that you can sort of go into in the future?
I think kind of having to put myself out there, really like trying to connect with more people, like my own peers, or trying to see what local organizations are available, like to participate in and stuff like that. But even then, like I'm a Bay Area resident, so a lot of the old connections I have from high school and middle school, I still keep in touch. So once in a while, I see if like they reach out to me and see if sorry, and see if I can participate with them and help out with anything. So I do try to like create new connections with others, but I'm also pretty well like established within some other older communities I've been a part of to keep going with.
And so for high schoolers that are watching, right now they're in the midst of application season, writing their PIQs, maybe revising and all that. So what would you say to them in like how did you kind of like sell like your story to the university in a way that was like enticing and made it sound like oh like you're made you stand out amongst the crowd?
Yeah, I actually had to look at my PIQs earlier in the week because I was talking to like a friend of mine who's a senior right now. But one of the things that I feel like made my application stand out is a lot of resilience in what I was doing. There's like the environmental world, and especially for a lot of young people, isn't always like older people aren't very kind to like youth who are trying to advocate for themselves or for the world, and we see that time and time again. But you have like there's a lot of resilience that comes in with the work that I've done. So I guess I was able to show that like being resilient and having the ability to advocate and just being um, not, I wouldn't say like overly like traumatic in those essays because
Mm.
that's not the point of them, but definitely being vulnerable to your like to your ups and downs and
Mm-hmm.
to know in the spots of like where you lack in and how you wish to grow, and how by attending like any university, or in this case it was Berkeley, like attending, knowing that even though I know there's spots of me that lack, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm determined to keep going and to figure out how to achieve my dreams.
Mm.
Yeah, so lots of resilience, lots of advocating and vulnerability within those essays without being overly like traumatic or trauma dumpy.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so, like, how have you been able to sort of like, balancing everything, the classes, clubs, and all that? Like, how have you taken a moment for yourself and sort of like taken care of your own mental health? Like, do you have any things that you do for fun?
Mm. Yeah, so aside from like the big advocacy work that I do and like hang out with friends, I find myself like always falling back to maybe bad habits of just playing games, like video
Mm.
games. So usually I'm on call with my friends every once in a while, talking to them, because they're all also big gamers. So it's fun to like stay in touch with them like that, especially
Mm.
if they're like all over the state in
Mm.
different colleges, and so it's one of the big ways I like keep myself, from feeling overwhelmed.
Mm.
It's just a good outlet, but also like kind of exploring the city at times. I
Mm.
find that it's fun and like a good way because you're able to get out for a bit and not have to really worry about much. So I really like doing that too.
Mm. And so, like, when it comes to exploring the city and all that, like, I know Berkeley has a bit of a reputation of being, like, unsafe. So, I mean, how do you feel about that?
Um, Berkeley does not feel unsafe,
Mm.
and I say that because earlier in the year, I think it was like the U.S. News um, classified my city as the number two worst cities in the country.
Which city was that?
Oakland. Yeah, Oakland's classified as like one of the top dangerous cities
Mm.
within the year. So it's like while yes, Berkeley is dangerous, it's not to like the degree of like danger that I grew up around. Or
Mm.
yeah, so it's not that I mind,
Mm-hmm.
but I am able to like stay clear and stay aware of my surroundings without looking like I'm terrified.
And so, do you think like your upbringing sort of played a role into who you are today? Sort of like growing up in like as you said, like a like sort of dangerous city.
Yeah, I it really did. I think culturally, I live in like I grew up in a very predominantly Latino community. So a lot of what's happening right now is is affecting my community. But like historically, the city I grew up in is really known for being really radical and um, like activist heavy. Um, like it's the birthplace of the Black Panther Party and a bunch of other organizations within like the country that come up. So it's like it's well known for a lot of its advocacy, and that history really stood out to me growing up, to see that there's so many like very prominent figures rise out of such a like not so good place to do
Mm.
really good things.
Mm. And so, kind of like tying into that advocacy that you brought up, I know Berkeley is also known for having like protests like every other week. And so, do you think how effective do you think those protests are? Do you think they really amount to anything?
Um, I think I think they are, because the main point of a protest is to be disruptive, and to cause a scene. Like there should be a scene within a protest. So the protests that are being done, and currently a lot of the protests that were happening like last year were very much like the school's union workers, like the cafeteria staff and all the cleaning staff. Like they were often protesting and picketing, because it's like they were fighting for their wages and their benefits. So kind of standing with them and meant not really like crossing the picket line to go eat at Crows or Browns. But like the student led protests have also been really beneficial. There's like historically a lot of what's happening. The students here at Berkeley have always been very radical, very pushing for change to come. So it's good to know that history is still very well alive. But it is sad to see how it's seen in such a distasteful light, because people are annoyed at the inconvenience of having to step around a protest, which I don't think should be that big of an issue. Like, sure, it might take you like an extra 3 minutes to walk around, but it's not like you should be crossing the pickets or the protest.
Talking about like the advocacy and the protest and not crossing the picket line, like all of that, I feel ties into sort of the free speech, sort of like in this free speech movement that Berkeley was known for, in the '60s, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like maybe the protests at times seem like they're a little redundant, but they sort of like they're always protesting something different. I feel like.
Yeah.
And they're always like, last year, when before all the protests started happening for the ice raids, I kind of noticed that Berkeley was like one of the first like places to have protests. So I think that sort of Berkeley leads as example in that sense. Would you agree?
Yeah, like Berkeley has like always been big on advocacy. So like we've always been some of like the first to do it, like the ice raids, like you said, or even the wait, what is it? I know like Columbia had done it where they kind of stood around campus and had like vigils and all of that for a lot of Palestine and Gaza for like a really long time. And Berkeley was also joining in on those to show like collaborative. No, that's not the word. Like they were just also participating in support of a lot of other students. So like yes, I'd say so. But like if we want to like talk about it in like a historical point, Berkeley's like movement for like free speech and like one of the most important like historical moments that I don't think is really talked about is Bloody Thursday, which was during like the anti-war protest for like Vietnam and all of that with the U.S. So a lot of students were protesting the war that was happening, and that was not very well liked by a certain governor, president. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What, Ronald Reagan? Oh.
Yeah, so he didn't like it, and then he slashed a lot of our funding, and then that's why we gotta pay a bunch of money now. I always blame him. But yeah.
And so tying it back to like social life and like eateries, like what would you recommend is like a top spot that when people come to Berkeley or just like on a vacation or all that, like what's the spot that they have to hit?
I low-key have to say, like, within campus, like, the food isn't all that good. Um, so, like, Bounds is maybe your best bet.
Or like surrounding.
Yeah, and in surrounding, I would say there's well, it's not even around anymore. It closed down like last month. But Seoul hot dog was really good.
Oh yeah.
The Korean corn dogs were good. But that was like a staple. I think like Little Gem maybe too, pretty good. Lots of good sweets to be around. But Mezzo's very
And
classic.
so for people who don't know, like, what do they sell at Little Gem?
Oh, Little Gem's like Belgian waffles and stuff like that. So it's a good treat. Like maybe after a good hard day or like you're down in the dumps after a midterm
A little
or a
pick me
final.
up.
Yeah, but like and then Mezzo's is a like really good sandwich shop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I really like their BLTs.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But like the funny thing is like with Mezzo's, it was closed down for like hella long, cause like the original place burnt down.
What? I did not
Yeah,
know that.
I didn't either. Like my mom loves that place, so she's like, "Oh, let's go to Mezzo's." I'm like, "Okay."
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess one more question I guess I have is, uh, like, what do you think about like the whole like all like? Do you think Berkeley as a whole has like a lot of school spirit?
Oh yeah, Berkeley is definitely known for its school spirit. Like in in high school, my chem teacher, as I mentioned before, he was a Berkeley student. Like he came here for chemistry, and he's still always repping some type of Berkeley merch, and he still talks like very highly of his time and fondly of it. So he like the spirit that you get with them like at Berkeley sticks with you for forever. Yeah, so it's definitely there. And it's not even just seen like during like football games or any sport events. It's just like people are very proud to be here and like to be a student here or to have like been alumni.
Well, I guess I kind of lied. I have one more question, and it's about like the well. I mean, it's known that there's a student like housing crisis at the moment, and so how has that affected you in any way, or how is that going for you?
Yes, the student housing crisis is a really big issue, and one of the issues that comes from it is because a lot of like the non-student residents around the area are finding annoyance in having like a lot of their properties being taken up and being rebuilt for apartments and stuff like that. Because it becomes a little disruptive to their lives. So that's like a big issue from a few years ago that I remember like reading over. But the housing crisis doesn't, and I'm very like privileged to say it hasn't yet affected me, and that's largely due to the scholarship I have within Berkeley that grants me housing all 4 years. So I'm guaranteed housing if it's on campus, regardless of like what it is. I'm always gonna be guaranteed housing. So it's yet to like I don't think it'll be something that will affect me. Hopefully not. But yeah.
Nice. Kind of like tying into you talked about how like the locals are having trouble sort of adjusting to the all the developments and all that. Like I know there was an issue about People's Park. I don't know if you want to talk about
Yeah.
that.
So People's Park, like historically, was like people wanted it to stay as this public space and have public access, which has been like People's Park has always been a very big place for community work and community organizing. But a lot of people seem to only ever consider it as this homeless encampment where a lot of homeless people lived at. But even if there was many unhoused folks, People's Park provided basic needs, basic like access to food and like some form of medical care, and it was just a space for a lot of people who needed to get off their feet. Like it helped them out for a bit. So with the school kind of blindsiding everybody and taking over People's Park and reestablishing it as housing. I'm not. Is it for like incoming freshmen or I forget who it's for. It is disappointing to know that like People's Park is gone because it's been there's so much history within it and like about it. But yeah, I think like the housing is needed, but I feel like People's Park was so monumental for like the history of Berkeley and just UC Berkeley in general. For it to be gone now is like a little saddening to know.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers before we end it?
Not that I can think of, but
Like-
this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I like ramble a lot, so hopefully it's not too bad.
Well, is there like a message that you would want to tell your younger self?
I think like that like regardless of everything that's happened, it gets a lot better, I think. Yeah. It definitely did get a lot better as time went on.
All right, so thank you so much for coming on the podcast, for
Yes.
taking the time.
Thank you.
And I wish you luck on everything. And yeah, so bye, guys.
Bye bye.